As is the case with life in general, on YouTube there are no certainties. This holds true not only for the levels of success or lack thereof an individual creator may experience, but for the actual structure and functionality of the website as well. To give you an example of the latter, in one moment, you as a viewer, who not only uses YouTube for entertainment but for educational purposes as well, may have the ability of determining whether a video is worth your time or not simply by glancing at a particular feature, and in the next, that feature may simply disappear. Of course, this is the fate of many beloved YouTube features, a good chunk of which we've already documented back in 2017 in a video titled 10 Long Gone YouTube Features. Today, we're going to broaden the list by taking a look at 10, or what the heck, maybe even 11 more. And let's just start with the elephant in the room, which we've so subtly hinted at in the intro, the dislike button. Initially, YouTube had a 5-star rating system which worked in a pretty self-explanatory way. Around 2009, the company figured out that the great majority of people had a habit of rating videos with either 1 or 5 stars, and that the 3 intermediate options were barely ever used in comparison. So it didn't take too long before they got rid of it and replaced it with the now notorious like to dislike rating system, which stayed in effect for more than a decade. However, not too long after their 2018 Rewind fiasco, YouTube started hinting at the possibility of them actually removing the dislike button from videos, a controversial idea that was effectively realized in 2021. Granted, the dislike button is technically still there, although it mostly serves as sort of an old man yells at cloud option, as it is not accompanied with a publicly viewable count. Even though dislikes are still counted in the backend and are visible to uploaders in the YouTube Creator Studio, for viewers, they quite literally serve no purpose. Now, today I'm not here to rant, only to document. But I'm sure you have some thoughts on this, which I will happily read in the comment section below. Another example of YouTube's tendencies to limit feature functionality can be seen in the case of public subscriber counts. Not that long ago, subscriber counts were displayed differently in different places across mobile and desktop apps. Depending on where you were looking, you would either see a full sub count or an abbreviated one. In May 2019, YouTube announced that it would soon begin showing abbreviated subscriber numbers across all public YouTube locations. If a channel had less than 1,000 subscribers, the count would read the full number, but as soon as it surpassed that threshold, the count would be rounded. The decision went into effect in September 2019, and it affected not only the public counts on the platform, but the public YouTube Data API service as well. As a result, third-party statistic tracking services like Social Blade took a huge blow to their real-time stat providing capabilities, and the exact number of subscribers a channel had became only visible to the channel owner through the Creator Studio. If you go to the YouTube Studio and open up the settings for any video, you'll see an editor option to the left, which basically allows you to trim an individual video, blur out faces, add end screens, cards, and links, and if you're feeling particularly sassy, maybe even some music. But not that long ago, YouTube had its own editor, which allowed you to actually merge several different clips that were already uploaded to your channel, do some basic Windows Movie Maker style editing, and export the final product as a standalone video. Now, I can't exactly remember what its limitations were, but according to this article by Tech Republic, the web-based editor allowed people to edit as many as 50 clips, 500 images, sounds, titles, and transitions to create up to an hour-long video. In September 2017, YouTube discontinued the editor along with photo slideshows because of, as they stated, limited usage of the features. Which leaves me kind of curious. How many of you remember these features, and how many have actually used them? Let me know in the comments below. On the other hand, this one I'm sure most of you remember, Google Plus comments. In 2013, Google integrated elements of its now deceased social network into its very successful video sharing platform, requiring users to have a G+ account in order to post comments on YouTube. This decision was met by massive criticism from the community. People were pretty much pissed, including YouTube co-founder Javed Karim, who at one point asked, "Why the f do I need a Google Plus account to comment on a video?" Regardless, for a couple of years, it seemed as though Google and YouTube were willing to die on that hill. That is, up until the summer of 2015, when it was announced that the tie between YouTube and Google Plus comments would finally be severed. On a side note, in April 2019, Google Plus was discontinued for personal and business use, marking the end of a nearly decade-long journey that eventually drove this failed social network to a dead end. Speaking of comments, how many of you actually remember channel discussions? YouTube channel pages used to have a tab that was designated specifically for channel comments. This was a section where people would go and tell you that they loved what you were doing or that they just hated your guts. In September 2016, YouTube launched the beta version of the Community tab, which was made available to channels that passed a specific threshold of subscribers. Once a channel received the set of features that came along with the Community tab, it would lose the old Discussions tab, as YouTube felt that having both would be redundant. Initially, channels that didn't meet the requirements got to keep the Discussions page, but nowadays it appears that it's become just another thing of the past, as it cannot even be found on channels that have less than 500 subscribers, which appears to be the current threshold for the Community tab. In 2015, YouTube introduced a feature called info cards, which, as you may know, allowed uploaders to add links to their videos. These links could lead to other videos, playlists, channel pages, external sources, and initially, users could even use them to conduct polls. In mid-2020, YouTube decided to remove info card polls, citing low usage as the main reason. According to Creator Insider, less than 0.2% of channels were using them. Nowadays, if you want to conduct a poll on YouTube, you can only do it through the Community tab, that is, if your channel meets the requirements to have it. During this time, YouTube saw info cards and end screens as solutions for their big annotations problem. And if you're wondering what the big annotations problem was, well, nothing really, other than the fact that they didn't work on mobile. In 2014, it was reported that more than half of YouTube's views were coming from phones and tablets, which is something the company probably didn't account for back in 2008 when annotations were initially introduced. On the other hand, info cards and end screens worked on all platforms, so upon their introduction, YouTube said out with the old and in with the new. As of May 2017, users were no longer able to add new or edit existing annotations, but for the time being, old ones remained visible as sort of a relic of the past. That is, up until January 2019, when YouTube decided to completely shut down the once beloved feature. Community contributions were a feature that gave viewers the ability to write and submit captions that could be publicly displayed on videos upon approval from the uploader. In July 2020, YouTube announced that it would be discontinuing the feature, citing low usage, spam, and abuse as the main reasons for the decision. After this announcement, The Verge reported that a number of deaf and hard-of-hearing creators pointed out their concerns that removing community-contributed captions would have a negative impact on accessibility. YouTube stated that the company was committed to improving existing accessibility and caption features, as well as introducing new tools for creators to reach the broadest possible audience, but also stayed committed to its final decision. And as of September 2020, community contributions were no longer a feature on the website. Back in the day, YouTube had its very own direct messaging system, which could be utilized by clicking on a little button that was located on channel pages. In a pretty basic fashion, it allowed you to text people and even attach videos in the messages, and the recipients would get the messages in an inbox that was located in their video manager, which was basically the equivalent of today's Creator Studio. In January 2017, YouTube introduced a mobile-only direct messaging feature in Canada that allowed users to share videos and chat with one or multiple contacts. The company reported that Canada was the first country to receive this feature because, at the time, Canadians shared videos on mobile devices 15% more often than other users across the globe. The feature started rolling out globally in August 2017 and continued to serve its purpose for another 2 years before eventually being discontinued in September 2019. YouTube used to have a feature called Collections, which allowed users to organize channels they were subscribed to in different groups. The feature was discontinued in May 2015 when the company announced that it was going to focus on other efforts to make subscriptions even more enjoyable. In the years to come, an equivalent to the Collections feature was never introduced, and nowadays, managing subscriptions merely comes down to adding or removing channels to one's subscription list and/or adjusting the desired type of notifications. And speaking of, I guess this is as good a time as any to ask you to consider subscribing to my channel, that is, if you haven't already. We'll end today's video with an Easter egg that will be treasured for years to come. Because let's be honest, the real treasure was always the eggs we found along the way. Sometime in 2010, someone noticed that a snake game could be activated within the YouTube video player simply by messing around with the arrow keys while the video was loading. This, of course, was during the Flash-based video player era. When YouTube made the transition to HTML5, the snake game was shown the door, just like so many other Easter eggs on this merciless platform that came before and after. F's in the chat. But that would be all for today. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video, and when YouTube kills off even more features, which I do not doubt that they will, maybe we'll make another one. But until then, thanks for watching, and as always, stay strong.